take a breath, Heat Nation, because I got some good news and some bad news. But the bad news is you didn't like the video and subscribed yet, and that hurts my feelings because we're on the road to 5K subs, and the likes help me out a lot. But anyways, of course, the good news is that Josh Richardson and Terry Rozier both avoided a major scary injury. So we just got the tweet from Shams a couple minutes ago, and he says Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier has avoided any major injury as MRI today showed a sprained right knee, and he will be evaluated week to week. Now, I am a doctor. I actually went to law school for 12 years before doing YouTube, and when I saw the play, it looks scary. Now, that's mostly just because of Rozier's reaction. But obviously, when you kind of land awkwardly, we have no idea what the injury could have been. We were kind of all hoping that best case scenario was a sprain, and sure enough, that's exactly what we got. So I guess he'll miss a few weeks, or he'll be reevaluated in a few weeks. So that really is the best news that we could have possibly gotten. And I also want to shout out Terry Rozier, who posted this on his Instagram story. Shout out my guy Hugh Jackman. I'm very excited about the new Wolverine/Deadpool movie, because any movie where you bring back Hugh Jackman is just going to be fire. But I'm assuming by posting this, Terry Rozier is saying that you can't kill me. You can't. Well, I guess Wolverine did die, but he's coming back. Either way, we know that Wolverine is kind of invincible. He's one of the strongest, most badass people out there, and that's what Terry Rozier is saying. So, of course, that is great news. And I also want to mention that we got the news earlier today from Shams as well, that Josh Richardson suffered a dislocated right shoulder, and he's expected to be reevaluated in a few weeks. So it obviously could have been a lot worse there. He was in a lot of pain, but I think a dislocated shoulder is probably best case scenario. We know Julius Randle, that just happened when they played the Heat a few weeks ago, and I think he's going to miss a couple months, so hopefully Richardson's isn't that bad, but it is good news. You always prefer like a upper extremity injury than hurting your leg or anything like that, so it is nice to hear that Josh Richardson will be back in a couple weeks. So the Heat are going to be short for the next a little bit of time here, particularly at the guard position. So how does that affect any moves we might make going forward? Well, one, I guess I should point out that the Miami Heat are currently in 8th place at 28-25, and they're one back of 7, really one back of 6, and they are 3 up on 9. So not too far up on the guys below you, but hopefully you got enough of a cushion that you can kind of stay in that playing range at this point, because as much as I'd love to get out of the playing range, they got a tough schedule coming up. I mean, it just lost to the Celtics. Intense game. Most fun I had watching a game in a long time. And then the next game tomorrow night, we got the Milwaukee Bucks. And after that, we got the 76ers, who, without Joel Embiid, should be an easy win. But keep in mind, the 76ers just picked up Kyle Lowry. And I swear, if that bum has a random scrub heat killer performance against us where he drops like 30 points, I'm going to be upset. And I'm kind of preparing for it, because I could very likely see that happening. But all this to say that everything is kind of jumbled up right now in this tier of the Eastern Conference, but it's a critical time of the season because you definitely don't want to fall out of the play-in. And ideally, if you can win some games, you'd be above the play-in and not have to worry about that, which has been my goal all along. I'd love to finish top 6. So you're going to need some more depth. You're obviously going to need a starting point guard, right? Which we're kind of back to where we were to start the season, because I didn't consider Kyle Lowry an NBA quality starting point guard anyways. So we're kind of back at square one here. Now, the Miami Heat did just cut, RJ Hampton, and they gave Alondes Williams his 2-way contract. And if you're not familiar with Alondes Williams, he's been balling in the G League. Very nice defensive player, but he's also been averaging about 30 points for the last couple weeks, even had a 55-point game earlier this season. Now, a lot of that is inside. He's not a great three-point shooter. He's at around 27%, but he's still very, very capable. That's a guy that I've been excited to watch since he's been in the G League. Now, I wasn't watching Sioux Fall, but I said they'd call him up one day and, we'll get a chance to watch. And obviously that day is today. They signed him to the 2-way a couple days ago. We were wondering when he'd get his chance, and I think it's very clear that chance is now. I think it's a very high possibility that we do see him versus the Milwaukee Bucks tomorrow, because the Heat are too short in the guard department now. Of course, you always got the buyout market left. We've been talking a ton about that. I have a whole video dedicated to that if you want to hear all the names. But some of the guys at the guard position that are available, or I guess we'll start with potentially available. You got guys like Shake Milton and Seth Curry, Devontae Graham. I don't know if any of those guys were bought out yet, but you have the potential that they can be, sort of like DeLon Wright on Washington, who I think would be perfect, but he hasn't been bought out yet. Or you could get a guy like Corey Joseph, who's kind of your stereotypical point guard. I think he'd be a nice fit at this point for the Heat, just because he's a guy that could handle the ball, kind of facilitate a little bit. Or dare I say Killian Hayes, who I've heard is the worst player in the NBA, but I don't know because I'm not watching Pistons basketball. I do know he's a decent facilitator though, and if anything, he could be I don't know, I was going to say developmental guy, but why the hell would you want a developmental guy right now? You're trying to win a championship, or I guess started, you're trying to avoid the play-in, right? So I don't think Killian Hayes is a viable option, but you never know. I'm just trying to name a lot of the guards that are out there. So originally, prior to this, the guy that I really wanted was Patty Mills. So I guess he'd still be even a more perfect fit now. I also like the guys like Danilo Gallinari and Thaddeus Young, but obviously those are more big men. So you do wonder if these injuries to Rozier and to Josh Richardson are kind of going to determine how the Heat's pivot in regards to the buyout market, because they do have an open roster spot. They got one open roster spot. But overall, that's pretty much all I got to say. I kind of just wanted to get this video out to update Heat Nation on the injuries, because I've been refreshing Twitter all day, praying that Scary Terry was okay. I know I've been very critical of him, but the guy is shooting like under 40% from the field, well under 30% from three. It hasn't been a great start, and I'm just nervous as a Heat fan because that was our move, and we only had 2 first-round picks. If you traded one of them to get a scorer, and he can't score that well, I was a little nervous about our outlook with regards to the playoff run. But hopefully, I did say, though, I was willing to give Rozier some more time. I was going to give him until after the All-Star break to kind of get going again. Obviously, we're going to have to delay that, and we just hope that he does recover healthy and can get back, 100% as soon as possible. Same with Josh Richardson, who was playing very well of late. He was like over 40% from three in the last couple weeks. So both those guys are going to play well. It's going to be a struggle to survive without them. But as my guy Eric Spoelstra always says, no excuses. He says, we have enough. Unlike that bum Doc Rivers, who tries to find every excuse in the book for why they're losing. I hate that guy. I love Eric Spoelstra. He says they have enough. They usually do. So I'm looking forward to these next few weeks where we get to see Tyler Hero have a bigger role. He was playing decent as a more of a facilitating point guard type, right? So I'd like to see him kind of expound on that while also getting maybe some more shots now, because I do feel like Tyler's been playing better of late, even though I was very critical of him after the Celtics game. But that's a whole other story. Anyways, that's all I got to say for this video. So like if you already did not, and subscribe, because I'm on the road to 5K, and I'll see y'all likely after the Bucks game tomorrow. So peace out.
Look, pull up in your city tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.